Weep no more, my lady. Oh, weep no more today. We sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home far away.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Lowell from El Gray Photography.
I'm Jerry from Stone Fence Tours.
And you're joining us from behind the label.
And we're talking about the Derby.
The Derby. We're devoting all these to kind of tying them in with the Derby. We went through Lexington, Calumet
Farm,
Pinhook, which
Yes.
I had no idea what Pinhook meant, but Jerry explained it to me in the last episode. And now we are at one of my favorites,
Blanton's.
Blanton's is made at the Buffalo Trace Distillery.
Trace, the first, it's the bourbon that brought bourbon back.
Yeah, and it's to me it's almost different than Buffalo Trace because it's almost kind of made in its own little way, and it's bottled in one little tiny building that's
It's
the
stored
size
in its
of
own
this.
warehouse. I mean, it's only like a 7-year-old bourbon,
Yeah,
but it's bottled in its own warehouse.
yeah. And if you see
Or
this
stored in its own warehouse, bottled in its own place.
anywhere in the world, and I've went to several places, and occasionally you'll see this. The weird and neat thing about this is that there's only one little tiny building in the entire world that this comes from. It's hand bottled, it's hand corked,
Yep.
it's hand everything. It's custom made, and you can trace this all back to one little tiny bottling plant there on Buffalo Trace Distillery's property.
And it's got a horse on it.
And it's got a horse on it.
And
so
you
that's
can
everything.
there's 8 different horses that you can get.
Yep.
Each one represents a position from entering the gate to crossing the finish line.
Now, does each horse represent an actual horse, or it's just
No.
more of the position?
Just position.
Okay.
And then each one has its own name. So when you collect all 8, you can send it to Buffalo Trace and they'll put it on a nice little.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
That's an option, really.
Yeah, so you send them all in and they'll put it on a nice little stave for you.
I did
and
not.
There you go.
I did not know that. I know.
And they don't charge you at all for that.
Jerry had told me, I didn't know this either, that at the foot of the horse, I'm sure you can't see it from there, but for instance, this one has T, and so
It
once
spells Blanton's.
It spells Blanton's.
It does.
So you collect all 8. I didn't know that they could do.
Yeah, you send it in, they'll put it on a nice little stave for you.
Did not know that.
Yeah, and it's the bourbon that brought bourbon back. I
Now,
mean, it's the
now-
first single barrel.
When you say brought bourbon back,
It was the
explain
first.
what that meant.
I mean, bourbon went through kind of a downturn in the 70s, early 80s, and then they released this, which is a single barrel.
Just as good as I remember.
And it brought bourbon back.
Now,
All
before
these
that,
single barrels, all this premium bourbon, it brought it back.
now I know, like you said, it went through a slump there for a while where bourbon was kind of seen as sort of the stodgy old man's drink. Wasn't really seen as very refined or very elegant to drink. People really got more into the vodkas and the tequilas and who knows what else they got into. Crazy.
Oh, they did, the clear spirits. They
Yeah.
didn't want anything that their dad drank.
Yeah. So that kind of became kind of the out sort of thing. So Blanton's and Buffalo Trace as well as some others, but Blanton's basically kind of brought the elegance back into
It was. It was the first
sipping.
single barrel.
Yeah.
So, and it fits in with our thoroughbred and our
Yep.
Derby, and I'm getting kind of hungry. So, when you think of Derby,
So Jerry's making the transition into food.
food. I mean, you think of Derby food, and it's all food that was started here in Kentucky. Well, most of it started here in Kentucky. What's your favorite thing to eat on? Not necessarily Derby Day, but even if you go to Kingland, what do you tend towards?
Hot brown is always a kind of a good go-to.
You know where it started?
Hot brown? No.
Brown Hotel in Louisville.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah, 1920s.
That makes sense.
It was pretty much. I didn't know this, but they had like 1,200 people that would come from like their dinner dance event, and they would dance all night, and then they would be hungry in the wee hours of the morning, and the gentleman there at the Brown Hotel come up with the open-faced turkey bacon with Mornay sauce. Kind of sandwich almost.
Now I'm getting hungry.
Open face, yes.
You're missing a sound like that. Sounds really good.
So it was in the 1920s that was established at the Brown Hotel.
Did not know
The hot brown.
That makes sense
Yeah.
why it's a hot brown.
Yeah, so that was one of the foods. I mean, burgoo.
Burgoo, that's kind of the steak stew, I guess.
It is. It was started a long time, pretty much around Civil War.
I was gonna say that goes way back quite a bit, almost as a this is what we've got. We're putting it in a pot and cooking it up.
Any kind of any animal they killed and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's
it
pretty
kind
much
of
like a beef stew.
Yeah.
But it's great at Keeneland.
And honestly, I'm not sure what goes into actual burgoo, the modern version of burgoo. I assume that it's just beef.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any kind of wild game.
It's great when you go to Keeneland and get it, the burgoo and I don't know, it just warms you up.
Now they have burgoo festival in Anderson County, right?
They do.
Yeah.
Not this year, but
Well, not this year.
most years they do.
As
They have a
usual,
burgoo
yeah.
festival, but it does go back to around the Civil War times, and it was just any game meat that they could
Yeah, I
find.
was gonna say they just kind of threw it in a pot and just
Yep.
cooked burgoo. So what else goes with kind of Kentucky-oriented food, especially that's related to
Bread pudding.
bread pudding? Man, that is some good stuff.
It's good stuff.
Have you had Red State Barbecue bread pudding?
No.
Oh, you got to do it. So
No.
if you ever come to Kentucky, especially Lexington, go north of Lexington, almost to Georgetown. There's a little tiny barbecue place, little hole in the wall called Red State Barbecue.
I love Red State Barbecue.
Ask for the bread pudding.
It's good at Keeneland too. if
It's
you've
good.
never had it.
It's good at Keeneland.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is. It's pretty much taking stale bread
That's basically.
and making it edible.
Yeah.
I mean, but we make it edible by making a nice special bourbon
You
sauce.
basically pour a little bourbon on it.
Yeah, nice little bourbon sauce for it. So, bread pudding is a huge thing at the
Mm-hmm.
Derby and at Keeneland and any of those. So that's kind of a special.
What else do we have that's kind of uniquely Kentucky? I would say barbecue. There's actually a kind of a Western Kentucky style of barbecue that's kind of famous. I've never really associated that too much with the Derby, but it's definitely a kind of a Kentucky staple. What else do we have in Kentucky that's notable?
What's in these cups right now?
In these cups, you know what? Just based on the fact, if you didn't see anything that was in the cup or we didn't tell you what it was about, you would probably guess, hey, I've had one of those around Derby time. Mint julep.
Yes.
Yeah.
It started in the 30s.
Always got to go in a little silver cup.
Yes.
Is there significance to this silver cup or the
No, I
design
don't.
or anything? Or?
No, not that I know of on it.
So
It
could you have
started
a
in
mint
30
julep, like for instance, in a glass like that? Would it be
You
a
sure
legit?
could.
Would it be a
It sure
legit?
could. It would. But they were always served in these little mint julep cups, starting in 1937.
Now I noticed that Jerry jipped me a little bit. He didn't put the little sprig of mint there on the.
No, this is actually a pre-made mint julep cocktail from early times.
This one's from early times. Jerry tells me that apparently lots of different companies make a pre-mixed mint julep.
Oh, they do, yes.
Woodford Reserve, which we have back here, is apparently one of the sponsors of the Derby.
Of the Derby, yes.
And so that's probably, does that make it a more legitimate mint julep, or can any bourbon legitimately be called a mint
They
julep?
have a very expensive mint julep they offer during the Derby.
So let's give this a try. So this is early times pre-mixed mint julep.
Not a huge fan of mint julep. I had a little extra early times. If you think of double mint gum,
Pretty much. It's basically, if you like double mint gum, you'll like the mint julep.
yes,
That's basically what it tastes like.
it is. It's very minty. I'm more of a fan of the Manhattan or the Old Fashioned. This is very sweet.
Yeah, it's very sweet, and it's like I said, this probably is the third one I've ever had in my life, and it's basically about the same as I remember it. Where I'm like, oh, this is what everyone's been crazy about.
And we added extra early times.
Yeah, we actually
to it.
added extra early times just to kind of cut the sweetness a little bit, but definitely a Derby staple. Not one of my favorites.
Not mine either.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to. It's kind of. I put this kind of in the class of the umbrella drinks that you get at the beach, or that has the fancy big straws and the feathers sticking out of it, and the lights in the bottom.
It's refreshing. It's got that mint
Right,
flavor.
agree.
It's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
refreshing. But
Yeah, so maybe one just sort of. It's akin to at Christmas. You drink eggnog a couple times a year, and you have two glasses, and you're done.
yes, that's right.
That's kind of like this. You're like, I have to drink this because it's Derby. So here it goes.
Very minty.
But very minty. So
It is.
maybe if you had bad breath at the Derby,
This would fix it.
This would fix it.
Was,
Yeah.
But I enjoy the Blanton's.
Yeah,
a
so
little
the
bit.
Blanton's for me is a much better choice than the mint julep. But if you're going to do stick with the derby theme, definitely have to do the mint julep. So I have a mint julep and a hot brown.
And burgoo.
And burgoo. I guess those would all go together. But most of that's the thing with bourbon. I've never really found anything food-wise that I really say, oh, that would be really good with a bourbon. Now with a beer or something, I could see that.
Oh, there's a lot of actual food like that you can actually pair with bourbon.
Well, tell me some of them because I would like to try that.
Well, I mean, if you're just doing appetizers, so like a Gouda cheese.
Oh, I can actually see that.
Yeah, Gouda cheese, anything that will melt.
I can see
tongue.
that. Yeah. Now I have tried chocolate with bourbon, and it's really good.
Chocolate does. Dried fruit.
I haven't tried that, but I can see that.
So if you do dried fruit, that will do it. A salty meat. So if you take something that's like a wheated bourbon and add salted meat to it, that will actually give it a little more spice to it. Whereas the Gouda and the chocolate and stuff will actually sweeten it up a little bit.
I could definitely see the cheese.
Yes.
Because that actually sounds kind of good right now. Once you say that, I
it is good.
That would be actually pretty good. So.
But we hope hopefully next year you'll be able to come to the Derby and enjoy some of these.
On your calendar, what is it? The first full weekend in May, in that?
First Saturday.
First Saturday in May.
Yes. Right now it's first September and May, first Saturday in May.
So
September.
In September. So potentially this year there could be a Derby in September and a Derby in May. So what is that? September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So they could be 8 months apart.
Mm-hmm. So when you come to Kentucky, enjoy this. Maybe take a tour.
Get some photos.
And just take part of the Derby. It's something that's a bucket list on a lot of people's bucket list.
Yep.
Has something they want to do. So
it's still on mine. I've still always want to go to the Derby.
Yeah.
There's sort of, from what I understand, there's sort of two Derby experiences. There is the wild party infield, which basically people get drunk and fall in the mud apparently, and then there's the much more upscale, fancy, wear the big hat, wear the suit.
Like my hat.
Not exactly like Jerry's hat, but probably a little nicer hat than that, but a hat nonetheless. That all the celebrities and bigwigs kind of attend up in the upper section. So there's kind of two derbies going on at the same time. But and honestly, most people I've talked to that have physically went to the Derby say, I never even saw a horse. Because the crowds are kind of, but the whole point of it is to be there amongst the people.
Yes.
It's kind of like tailgating a lot with football. A lot of people don't even watch the game. They just tailgate and they eat and they enjoy friends, they enjoy family, they have a drink. And that's kind of what we're encouraging here is to kind of really enjoy the history behind all these labels, kind of understand what the connections are, what all went into making these, why it's fun to drink, why it's our drink of choice, why it's a lot better than any clear spirit that you'll probably ever have.
Yes.
So the only thing I would even put up against it would be maybe the Scotch-Irish heritage, Scotch and Irish whiskey. They have a little history and heritage with theirs.
They do.
Other than that, I still think ours is best. I think bourbon has a very distinct kind of rugged pioneer spirit. All these bourbons are born out of people really striking out on their own, really kind of making a name for themselves, putting a lot of hard work and sweat into it. And then usually passing that legacy down. If you watch the rest of our episodes, they pass that down to their offspring and their offspring's offspring, and it just kind of feathers out from there, and they kind of intermingle. And so it's kind of a really cool story. So that's what we're hoping to get across. Mint julep is probably not for me in that story as much.
Not for me either.
Not for me. But the rest of these, short of this, we'll just set that in front of that. There, it's fixed.
Yes.
So.
So thank you. I mean, just enjoy all this.
Yeah.
I mean, whether you're watching the Derby, this year, or hopefully next year in person.
So this year, what do you plan to be drinking while the Derby is running? What's your go-to?
I may have tried the Pinhook.
I'm thinking I'm still sticking with the OCD 5. I'm gonna have to give a shout out to David Meyer. He's kind of got me hooked on the what is that called, the premium? Their OCD 5. That's like
the premium, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that will probably be my go-to at the Derby. So.
Right. Thank you. Enjoy.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Weep no more, my lady. Oh, weep no more today. we sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home far away.